Welcome everyone to The Novice Hobbyist. This is the first episode showcasing my first diorama from the video game Half Sword, which I decided to bring a little more life to. I've been binging diorama videos like crazy lately, and I noticed nobody really made one from this game yet, so I figured I'd give it a shot as I'm a big fan of the game. I didn't record the building process as I didn't expect to do this, but I did record painting these guys, 15th century polearm men, billhook wielders. There are like 10 different polearms from regions throughout Europe. I'm not sure which ones these are exactly. So first we did a little bit of prepping prior to priming, cutting away any of the mold lines and excess plastic. I've always loved medieval stuff, movies, games, all of it. Played a lot of Chivalry and Mordhau, so when I found Half Sword about a year ago, instantly hooked. So one of the miniatures arrived like this, also 7 weeks late. But whatever, tried gluing it, failed, tried again, failed harder. Then it hit me, this is a fighting arena, we need casualties. So meet William, he's our designated victim in this arena. Now that they were ready to prime, I prepared to take them outside. In hindsight, it would have been better to prime them in white, but all I had was black, and sometimes you just need to make it work with what you got. Either way, I was happy with how they came out after drying. I painted a couple Uruk-hai miniatures prior to this, which had bases and these guys didn't, so I tried to make makeshift stands in the meantime, basically, just to make it easier to work on them. I tried tape, but that wasn't the go. Then I remembered I recently bought a cheap hot glue gun, which worked a charm. Looking back, should have thinned my paints, should have done more layers, but hey, learning process. I've watched a ton of videos, but mostly for entertainment, not tutorials per se. Perhaps I better pay even more attention to the process, but then again, it's nice watching something and just relaxing. I'm keen to see where this game goes. I know people got mad about early access, but come on. $1 million studios mess up games constantly. These guys are actually putting their heart into it. Guys did like, what, 6 hotfixes within a week? Anyway, painting. I was still happy with the overall outcome. It's nice to just switch off and do a singular task, let the mind rest a bit, tune out that constant chatter that some of us may have. I'm doing a bit of a white base on this guy, but we'll add some color later. He's going to be coming to defend his teammate William over here, who got chopped down by the protagonist. A lot of people believe the medieval ages were glum, dark, boring when it came to clothing, but they actually had a lot of bright colors, reds, yellows, blues. Although I believe it was more among the wealthy. Either way, Half Sword shows that with guys having all sorts of flair. One side of the pants will be one color while the other will be another, which is actually historically accurate opposed to just having browns and black all the time. He doesn't have much armor, but he's got the skills, a John Half-Sword if you will. Absolute legend from the slums moving his way up the professional fighting world. Despite some of these guys being more heavily armored, he knows how to pick them off at their weak points. Wonder how he'd go versing a full-plated knight. I was recently thinking, what's my favorite art form? Most people say paintings or think of traditional art forms, I guess. For me, I'd have to say movies and TV shows. Then video games, because you can actually be in the world. And definitely music as well. If I had to pick a fourth, probably dioramas and miniatures. Which is funny because I just discovered them. But hey, they kind of combine everything else. Favorite scene from a movie, game, whatever. You can just build it. Now here's where I learned something. In hindsight, probably should have painted the armor first with some dry brushing perhaps, instead of working around the areas I've already done. But we're doing it anyway. Also, I wouldn't have minded white primer, but I didn't have any and didn't want to spend the money. You just make it work sometimes. People think you need this whole elaborate setup to get into mini painting, and it's not the case at all. Honestly, a lot of people do this with any hobby. They're too focused on the actual equipment and gear opposed to just trying it. I got a shelf that turns into a small desk. My mum actually found it on Marketplace. And some $15 brushes from a hobby shop, along some cheap paints as well. Okay, I will say, you do want a high pigment paint made for minis. I learnt that fast. Ended up getting a basic Vallejo set, but the rest, either or. Next purchase will probably be some better brushes, at least a size 2. I didn't even know brushes had numbers until like maybe 3 weeks ago or so. Makes sense though. Never used anything besides house brushes prior for, you know, basic home renovations and such. Anyways, back to John Halfsword. Just getting in those minor details, the leather stripes on his helmet for example. It's quite finicky to get, but I think it wasn't too bad. You have to keep in mind as well, you're not necessarily looking at these miniatures under a microscope with LED lights. Once you put them in a display, you're probably going to be looking at them from about at least a ruler length, 30 centimeters or more, and they look quite good. I heard a few people joke about having a 1 foot rule when it comes to miniatures and dioramas. Don't look at the detail too much and it all looks pretty good at the end of the day. Well, you'd hope it does at least. Time to paint William's shoe. Don't think he'll be using it much nowadays. Probably should have invested in some greaves, which is armor for the front of the lower leg protecting the shins. I used to ride dirt bikes. One of the first injuries I got was a nasty shin bruise that was purple, yellow, and all sorts. I ended up getting some proper motorbike riding boots after that. When it comes to PPE, that's probably one thing you do want to invest in when starting hobbies that can be dangerous. This hobby is definitely a lot safer, other than the occasional hand cramping. You can tell William's a battler. Lost a leg, doesn't care, still holding his weapon, still ready to fight to the very end. Decided to paint the armor first on the fallen William. Made way more sense. Details later, base first. Who knew? But we learnt our lesson. May have overdid it in some areas, but we can easily adjust it afterwards with the final layers. Time to apply some colour as we mentioned before. Decided to go for a nice bright yellow. Not sure if I'll do another half-sword diorama. If I do though, it will definitely be a map from the early access. Not sure which one though. In the meantime, I have been playing a lot of Starship Troopers Extermination with my partner. So it would make sense to do that next. But we'll see how it goes. Just a few little details here, just his belt, and we may as well use that same brown leather colour for his beard. No, I don't think they have facial hair at the moment in the game, but they've definitely added hair. At one point they were all bald. And just a little bit of work on all their polearm handles, with just a slightly darker brown. And here we're trying to give him a bit of a skin pigment colour. I ended up mixing a bit of red with white to give a bit of a pinkish But I clearly placed way too much paint on there. It's definitely not the best, but I'll try wash away some with some water and the brush itself. Now here we're going to apply some wash. First time I tried the wash was on Uruk-hai, which was the first miniature I did from Lord of the Rings. Probably one of my favourite trilogies. I've been itching to do some diorama action from those movies too. But anyway, washing these guys, it really brings out the details, especially once it dries. I was honestly surprised how well it worked the first time. It essentially darkens recesses while also adding an instant shadow and depth to all those little cracks and crevices. Just think of it as a really easy way to do shading. At least that's how I see it for now. Now time for posing and placement. Just trying to figure out where everyone goes. I wanted William leaning against the fence, still holding his weapon, but I didn't want to cut the polearm down, so leaning works. He's defending himself if John Halfsword comes his way. I might need some better pliers, as I'm cutting some wire that I found that I'm going to attach to their feet just so I can adjust the two guys standing a little bit easier and however I want. Now I'm preparing for the blood and gore. I wanted it realistic and to represent what happens in Halfsword or any medieval battle for that matter. I mixed some red and blue for a darker effect. I practiced on some cardboard first so I didn't ruin the minis. I wanted to see how it would look like if it pulled with the spray and just having like a realistic effect off of the brush. And then I applied it to the mini itself as well. I saw this little trick on a YouTube short by mixing super glue, PVA glue and paint to get a gore look. It worked out quite well once you mix it in. My cheap super glue decided to keep running. Didn't want to pop the lid back on because yeah, already glued stuff shut like that before. I mixed it with a stick anyways and applied it. This part wasn't caught on frame, my bad. When William lost his leg, he tried pulling himself towards the fence for balance, his buddy taking the fight head on. Blood trails fresh, not too much pulling as it just happened quickly. Now for a few final touches where we're placing each miniature in their position with a little tidy up. I also painted the sides with another layer of black just to make it really pop. Honestly, I'm quite happy with how it turned out. Could the painting and certain details be more cleaner? Sure. But also, these guys didn't just come from a bath. They've been marching through fields, mud, dirt. It's supposed to look messy, at least what I'm going to tell myself. So here's the final result, the Halfsword Arena. Thank you all for viewing. If you enjoyed this and want to watch my novice skills developing, subscribe and I'll see you next time. Take care.